Today I'm taking a look at a game that's very different. It's a cooperative game, and it's a competitive game. It's negotiation and backstabbing and deal making, and the production is fantastic. So I'm very happy for my review game to be New Angeles. In New Angeles, the players take the roles of megacorporations in the cyberpunk setting Android. These megacorps are competing with their rivals to make the most capital, but also working together to ensure the federal government doesn't mobilize and take over the city of New Angeles. Each player selects one of the 6 megacorps and is dealt a rival card. The rival card tells you which of the other players is your target. You must have more capital than your rival at the end of the game to win. If the threat track ever increases to 25, the federal government will take over New Angeles and all the players will lose. The threat track is increased by illness spreading, workers going on strike, power outages in districts, crime bosses muscling out your production, punks with hammers causing a ruckus, and of course not meeting the product demand of your consumers. Each round of the game, there are a number of asset cards placed in a track showing how many turns the round will take. These assets will be claimed by the player who enacts their proposed action for the turn. Assets are always key people that the corps use to their benefit. The active player selects an action card from his hand and proposes this action. These action cards will help the city by moving security robots to get rid of bad dudes in your district, curing illness, repairing power outages, building developments that'll help production in your city, and all sorts of other productive things. The other corporations around the table have the opportunity to propose a counteroffer using the cards from their hands. Once 2 offers are in play, the other players around the table have the opportunity to lend support to either of the actions proposed. Whichever action has the most support gets enacted. Every corporation has all sorts of reasons to enact these different action cards. Each player has an investment card that will gain them capital for focusing various things, like, for example, generating technology. Also, each corporation has individual interests that will increase their capital when certain actions are carried out. At the end of each round, districts that have androids stationed in them will produce their goods. You'll have to check to see if the district has any problems that will inhibit the production, like power outages or crime bosses stealing your goods. Also at the end of each round, you'll draw an event card that will tell you all the issues in New Angeles that'll increase the threat. It will also add new problems to the board that the players will have to deal with before the next production phase. Every few rounds there will be a demand phase in which the players will have to spend the resources that they've been collecting to meet the demands of the people. If you fail to meet the demand, the threat will increase and take you closer to government takeover. After 3 demand phases have been carried out, the game will end and each player who has exceeded their rival in capital wins the game. Oh, and there's one other rival card called the Federalist, and he wants the government to take over, so he's always up to no good. I guess you could call him the traitor. As I mentioned at the beginning, this game is very strange in the fact that it is a cooperative game and it's a competitive game at the same time. A lot of the time, it feels like a cooperative game, fully a cooperative game, as there's all these problems on the board. You know, there's crime and there's illness breaking out and there's people going on strike, and everybody as a group has to come together to deal with that so the federal government doesn't come in and take over, meaning that most people are going to lose the game. So really, it feels like a cooperative game, yet you're constantly paying attention to your rival and what they're up to and making sure that they don't make money and you're making money so that you can exceed them at the end of the game and actually be a winner of the game. So really, there's a dynamic to this game that's just terrific. It's just really well done in that respect. And of course, before I get too much further, I always have to mention the components just because this is Fantasy Flight. The Fantasy Flight's always going to put out some of the best productions you're ever going to see. I mean, look at the miniatures in the box. There's no reason for miniatures in the box. It could easily be a token that's put on the board or cubes on the board, whatever. Yet they put miniatures in the game so that your experience is that much better. They just go the whole 9 yards with their productions. And it's beautiful. It's colorful. The card art is great. I just love everything about the production of it. So getting past components, let's talk about gameplay. From a gameplay standpoint, this game is just different.
You know, a lot of people are saying that it's Battlestar Galactica 2.0. They're going that far as to say that. I don't see Battlestar Galactica in this game anywhere. I mean, yes, there is kind of a hidden traitor in there, and there's some rivalries and that kind of thing, but really there's mostly open information. It's all negotiation based. There's no BSG here. That's the thing that you have to pay attention to initially. If you're coming into this game and you want to know what it's like to play this game and if it's right for you, the one thing you have to keep in mind is this game is going to live or die by the players in the game. And when I say that, I mean the game mechanics are all really well done. I mean, it works, it's great, it's a cool cooperative game, and it's got that competitive aspect, but the game very, very strongly relies on negotiation, deal making, backstabbing, fast talking. You got to be a car salesman in this game to get your actions through. You have to be lying, and you have to be helping. You have to trust people. You have to make alliances with people. If the players aren't engaged in that level, where they're going to be talking a lot, they're going to be trying to convince other people that their plan is right and that that other plan is not right, this is not going to go well. And let me tell you my very first time playing it, how it went. For about the first 30 minutes of the game, I was like, I was disappointed, man. Like, I was like, this game is just one card after another, and then we just move some pieces. Boring. But after the first demand phase, we started to like kind of get into it. We started to sort of realize, okay, we really got to be pushing to get these things done, and we got to get our stuff done so that we can make money and beat our rivals. So we started wheeling and dealing. We started, making deals. We started trading assets. We started trading capital between each other, and it really started to get ruthless. That's when the game got fun. And if your group is really not into that, this is going to fall totally flat because the game is boring if people are not engaged in that capacity. I think that's really important to know going in. So if your group's not like that, don't get this game. The concept of the rivals is really interesting because really you're most times, only competing against one other player. If there's 4 people at the table or 6 people at the table, whatever it is, you have one card that says, I'm trying to beat Chris across the table. That's all I care about. I don't care if Steve or Tony make any points at all. They can make 1,000 points more than me. I don't care. All I want to do is beat Chris. That's interesting because you never know where the alliances lie. Sometimes you're dealing with somebody that you might be their rival, or you might have to deal with somebody that is your rival, but you're still trying to mitigate their points and around the table. And there's always that federalist who is trying to win by himself, make the government come and take over. And everybody's pointing fingers saying, oh, that guy must be the federalist because what he's doing is wrong. And that just makes for a lot of, it's a dynamic game in that capacity. Everybody's accusing each other of everything. And another interesting concept that throws another wrinkle into it is that if you get your own rival card, you have to beat 2 or 3 other players, depending on player count. And that makes it even harder for you. So sometimes the game is extra hard for you because you got your own rival. You just want to be the best in the biz. So there's a lot of different things going on in the game. I dig it. Now, it isn't without things that I find strange too. Let's talk investment cards. Investment cards are how you make capital in doing the various actions on the board. Sometimes you're going to get capital if there's a lot of illness on the board. And you could get one of those cards randomly. And, you always get 2 and you can pick one. So there's a choice there. But if you get stuck with one that the board state just doesn't work for, you're not going to get a lot of points that turn. And someone else could just kind of fall backwards into something that gets them a ton of points. And that felt a little bad to me. I didn't like that aspect to it. I almost feel like there should be something a little different where you can engineer what you're investing in to try to get points. It's difficult to say if that would kind of break the game or not, but it did feel almost a little random that all of a sudden, Steve across the board was making a whole bunch of points off of something we didn't really even deal with that turn. It didn't even really come up that much. So that kind of felt strange to me. Regarding player count and the length of the game, the box even says this game could go up to 4 hours. And that all comes from that negotiation. That could get long in the tooth real quick. 4 players takes about 2 hours. But if you get to 6 players, it could push 4 hours if there's a lot of table talk happening. And it isn't the game that makes that happen. It's the players that make that happen. So I think even the game could work well with a timer. Like, all right, we have this amount of time to make these deals, or just the main offer goes through. If you want to cut down the time a little bit or keep it constrained. I think the game is very well done, but I'm not sure that it's 4 hours well done. So to summarize, ultimately, I really like New Angeles, even with a couple of those little hiccups with the investment cards and maybe a little bit with that duration with a high player count. I really like it, and what I like most about it is the dynamic at the table, the table talk, the negotiation, the wheel and dealing, the backstabbing, the trading of goods. It's just very interactive. It's an interactive game, like it's probably the most interactive game that I have at this point. So, New Angeles, really, really, really dig it. All right, well, that is my review of New Angeles. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're interested in any more board games, card games, miniatures games discussion, please check out thesecretcabal.com and iTunes for our audio podcast. And if you would be so kind, please subscribe to the Secret Cabal's YouTube channel just below. All righty, till next time, see you later.